The passage of the 2018 Agricultural Improvement Act was cause for much celebration. Better known as the 2018 Farm Bill, the legislation includes funding for things like crop insurance, SNAP benefits, and a host of others. But many in agriculture are particularly excited about the inclusion of one alternative crop, hemp. It's garnered controversy due to its similarities to marijuana, but proponents say it's harmless and perfect for Nebraska. Within the over 1,000 pages of the 2018 Farm Bill, there it is in black and white. Industrial hemp is now a legal crop to grow. The bill removes hemp from the controlled substance list, a place where it had been since the 1930s. You can thank its more notorious cousin marijuana for that, a plant which is still illegal to grow at the federal level due to its use as a recreational drug. Both hemp and marijuana come from the cannabis family, but the psychoactive properties present in marijuana are basically non-existent in hemp. UNL's Dr. Ishmael Dwicat has been researching hemp at the university for 3 years. He, along with some Nebraska farmers, see it as a promising crop with a number of uses.
You could use it for fiber, you could use it for a grain. It has so many beneficial in terms of medical treatments for so many different diseases, and can be used for arthritis, for epilepsy, for diabetes, for help you to sleep. In addition, the grain, you could use it for oil, you could use it for food, for human food, for animal feed. And the stock we could use for fiber to make clothes, to make fiber wood, you could make concrete out of it.
In fact, hemp can be used in the manufacturing of roughly 25,000 products.
And now that it's not on Schedule 1, people are more willing to talk about it, quite frankly.
Bill Accord is president of the Nebraska Hemp Association and believes the crop can be a key player in revitalizing rural Nebraska and giving new hope to the family farm.
Nebraska farmers need this. I mean, our biodiversity in crops and agriculture is not good in Nebraska. We basically don't have biodiversity. We've got soybeans and corn. We need biodiversity. Hemp could do that. Hemp can be grown. It's a short growing season, and you can grow food crops right after. You don't have to summer farrow.
Dr. Dwicat first became interested in hemp during the drought of 2012. He realized the crop's potential when he was driving through the state and saw that many corn and soybean fields were brown and dying. However, the patches of wild hemp that had been ignored were still thriving.
This ditchweed has been here for the past 100 years. It's overcome so many obstacles in terms of disease and insect and drought, and year in and year out, these plants keep coming back, which means that they are adapted to here, to our environment. And not only to Nebraska, they are adapted to the Midwest area.
He says if a farmer can successfully grow corn or soybeans, they can grow hemp. Seed to harvest takes about 4 months. It's fairly resistant to pests, and hemp can even help detoxify the soil.
The hemp plant is able to absorb all the bad chemicals from the soil. So we call it bioremediation. The Russian government uses hemp to clean up the soil after the Chernobyl disaster. They use hemp to clean up the soil because the roots is able to absorb the bad chemical like cesium and modify it into the blend.
It grows like a weed, to make a little joke. But it grows well. I mean, it grows under very adverse conditions, but it'll grow almost anywhere. It's a perfect food. You could live on it. You might get a little bored, but you could live on hemp seed.
But it isn't that simple. Even though the Farm Bill says hemp can be grown, current Nebraska law only allows it for the purposes of university research, like in Dr. Dwicat's case. UNL ag economist Dr. Brad Lubin says at this point, there are still lots of questions.
We're not really there yet, but we now have a pathway to get there. Just because it's been legislated and the language has been signed to legalize it or to remove it from the prohibited list, you still have a regulatory path ahead to determine the exact procedures or the exact regulatory environment under which it can be grown.
Dr. Dwicat fears Nebraska will fall further behind other states that already have numerous hemp plots in place. According to GrowingProduce.com, 23 states grew almost 80,000 acres of the nation's hemp in 2018. Nebraska was 22nd on the list, with just half an acre.
Mostly from Colorado. They are coming to Nebraska to take our wild hemp, to use it for a new hemp development. And they come to Nebraska to increase the seed, to grow seed for hemp, because we have an optimal condition and environment for growing hemp, which is we are wasting it. We have the highest amount of genetic diversity of wild hemp than any other state in the union.
Dr. Dwicat oversees the state's half acre on UNL's East Campus. The seeds he uses must be imported from overseas or Canada. The results have been less than stellar.
The problem with the Canadian seed, because they are not adapted to our climate, so they flower so early, and they reach about 3 feet height or tall. So they're not going to be optimum for producing the maximum yield that farmers are looking for. Because it has so many uses of it, farmers could fetch higher prices and more income per acre. So that's what we are hoping for, is that the legislature will allow us, or allow the farmers to grow it this coming year, or this year, because they've been waiting for a long time.
It's a wait that proponents like Accord say farmers shouldn't have to do anymore.
With everything that's going on in the world, they're lucky to not lose money on soybeans right now, and they're not going to make much on corn either. And so, yeah, you know, they want to keep their farms for their families, and you know, some of them are third, fourth generation farmers, and you know, they're concerned because they want to have a fifth generation farm.
Another thing that Dr. Dwicat told me from his research, the number of hemp plants on your plot will determine what the harvested hemp is used for. For instance, you can put about 70,000 plants on 1 acre if you want to use it for grain, or putting about 200,000 plants on an acre will yield skinnier plants, and that would be good for fiber production. Bit of breaking news with hemp too. Since this story was filed, Nebraska legislators have given first-round approval to a bill that would legalize industrial hemp. This is a story that Market Journal will continue to follow.